Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan and the top stories that we're tracking for you this evening. The Nifty ends in the green for the 7th straight session, but the gains are limited as the markets give up their high points of the day. US President Donald Trump threatens more tariffs, and this time puts the spotlight on Venezuela, but Trump extends the timeline till the end of May. A US trade delegation is in Delhi just a week before Trump's proposed reciprocal tariffs on countries like India. Washington wants greater market access for certain industrial goods, autos, wine and agriculture. Reuters reports that India is open to cutting tariffs on 55% of US imports. Lok Sabha passes the finance bill. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman highlights measures taken to rationalize the tariff regime, also defends the changes to the income tax law, which allows tax officers access to email and social media data. Donald Trump's White House mistakenly shares its war plans in Yemen with a journalist from The Atlantic magazine. The plans were disclosed in a messaging group where the journalist was added accidentally in what is a serious security breach. The death toll in Gaza crosses 50,000 as Israel continues to bomb for the 8th day. Over 20 people killed in overnight air raids. Israel issues fresh evacuation orders for northern Gaza. It's the last day to bid for bankrupt JP Associates. Sources say over 24 suitors, including Adani, JSW, Oberoi Realty, Welspun, are likely to fight for assets spanning across real estate, cement, hospitality, and others. Consumer spending remains muted in Q4. Retailers Association says apparel and electronics are seeing very low sales growth. Electronics Mart of India says same-store sales growth is around 5%. JSW Steel overtakes ArcelorMittal as the most valuable steel company in the world. Market cap touches 2.5 lakh crore rupees as the stock gains 18% so far in 2025. Chief Minister Rekha Gupta presents a Delhi budget with an outlay of 1 lakh crore rupees, allocates 5,100 crore rupees for monthly cash allowance to women and 50,000 CCTV cameras across Delhi for women's safety. Also promises free laptops to around 1,210 standard pass-outs. The Allahabad High Court Bar Association begins an indefinite strike after the proposed transfer of Justice Varma from the Delhi High Court. This after the police allegedly discovered a large stash of cash at his official residence after a fire. Justice Varma strongly denounced the allegations, hinting at a conspiracy. Mumbai police summons comedian Kunal Kamra for taking a jibe at Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. Kamra stands by his comments as he does not fear the mob. Shinde calls for limits to freedom of speech. Well, we'll come to all of that in just a bit, but first up, to the market action of the day. And the markets continued to gain ground today for the 7th straight session, but they did give up some of those gains coming off their intraday highs. The gains were limited at close. The Nifty held on to levels of above 23,650 and the Sensex above 78,000. Mid-cap saw a sell-off with the index losing over 550 points. The big story this evening, a fresh tariff concern for India with just 1 week to go for US President Donald Trump's deadline to impose reciprocal tariffs. President Trump has signed a new executive order to impose 25% tariffs on countries who buy oil from Venezuela from the 2nd of April. Trump has described the move as a secondary tariff aimed at punishing the country for allegedly sending thousands of high-level criminals into the US on purpose. The additional tariff will come into effect from the 2nd of April. China and India amongst the largest importers of oil from Venezuela. India was the top buyer of Venezuelan crude oil in January of 2024, importing nearly half of the country's total exports. Sudarshan is standing by with more. Sud, how could this impact India?
Oil and gas stocks were low in today's trade on the back of the announcement made by US President Donald Trump, who announced that there would be a tariff of 25% on the countries that decide to import crude oil from Venezuela, and that would be effective April 2. Now, which all Indian companies be impacted from this? First up is ONGC. ONGC has one subsidiary with the name of ONGC Videsh, which has 2 production units in Venezuela that produces crude oil. Second is ONGC was expecting to get its dues of $500 million from Venezuela in the form of additional crude, and that is also likely to be impacted. Second, the companies which are going to be impacted are oil marketing companies IOC, BPCL and HPCL. In 2024, OMCs, or say India, imported 22 million barrels of crude oil from Venezuela, which formed 1.5% of total purchases that the country has made in 2024. So it's very minor if you consider the total purchase of crude oil that India has done, but nevertheless, it's an impact. Now, the important part is last month, that is in February 2025, Oil Minister had commented that India is looking to increase the crude oil imports from Venezuela, considering the Russian discount had narrowed after US sanctions, and that is unlikely to happen in near future with the US sanctions or say US tariff coming in. So companies which are going to be impacted are ONGC, IOC, BPCL and HPCL.
Sid, many thanks for joining us. U.S. officials, including the Assistant U.S. Trade Representative in India, to take forward negotiations and talks around the trade deal between India and the U.S. This is, of course, a 4-day visit, and the ongoing tariff battle will be one of the key issues on the agenda. Abhimanyu standing by. Abhimanyu, reports suggest that India has agreed to tariff cuts across almost 55% of what the trade is with the U.S. Take us through the details, if any.
An American delegation is visiting New Delhi for trade talks between both the countries. This is not the first round of negotiations. What government sources have indicated so far is that India and the US are going to finalize the contours, the negotiation schedule and the terms of reference of the proposed bilateral trade agreement between both the countries, which is likely to be finalized in 2 tranches. The first phase of the BTA is expected to focus on issues pertaining to goods trade. What we have learned from sources so far is that the US has sought greater market access in certain industrial goods, automobiles, wines and agriculture, and India may seek duty cuts in labor-intensive sectors like textiles. Now, both the sides are trying to find a common ground based on each other's strengths, weaknesses and sensitivities to create synergy for true two-way trade and investments, as well as for predictability in tariffs, regulations and economic integration. More clarity is expected by the end of this week. It remains to be seen how the talks are going to pan out, based on which the negotiation schedule is going to be made.
Abhimanyu, many thanks for joining us. The Lok Sabha has passed the finance bill. Speaking in Parliament, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman highlighted measures taken to rationalize the tariffs regime. She also defended the changes to the income tax law, which allow tax officers access to email and social media data, essentially saying that this is a clarification and nothing new.
The WhatsApp group of key persons include many professionals also, unfortunately. So we had to contemplate on how to be lawfully on the side of law to say that these are evidences which are incriminating in themselves. Therefore, it has been brought in. I can also give one more, which is evidences have been found with the help of Google map history. So in the case of Google map history, sir, found on the phone was used to determine the frequented locations of individuals who enabled location history. This enabled detection of hideouts where cash and unaccounted transactions are kept, and that also came of help. So there is a need for us to change or add the digital elements into the Act itself.
Well, the race to acquire JP Associates heating up, so they told CNBC TV 18 that over 20 suitors led by the Adani Group, JSW, Vedanta are likely to join the bidding process. We've also learned that more suitors are likely to come forward and submit their expression of interest by the end of the day. Ritu joins us now with more. Ritu, long line of potential suitors there.
That's right, over 24 suitors, including some of the country's biggest conglomerates, are lining up to acquire Jayaprakash Associates under the bankruptcy law. We understand names like Adani Group, JSW Group, Vedanta Group, Oberoi Realty and Wellspun are just some of the nearly 25 potential bidders that are expected to submit expressions of interest today. Now, we've been reporting the deadline for EOI submission, which has already been extended twice, closes finally later today, and banks do anticipate a few last-minute entries as well. Keep in mind, however, that NCLT has ruled out bids for individual business clusters, meaning suitors must now bid for the entire company, including its interests in real estate, cement, hospitality, engineering, construction, and so on. And the company does have some prized real estate and cement holdings that is sure to attract the suitors. There is also huge debt at stake. Jayaprakash Associates is facing claims of more than 57,000 crores under the IBC. Now, we had earlier reported that the SBI-led consortium of lenders had sold their stressed exposure to the National Asset Reconstruction Company and already received about 1,800 crores in cash recovery, which will reflect in the current quarter. Now, that said, this is just the EOI stage. The real test comes next when final bids are invited, and we'll see how many of these 20 or 24 plus suitors put serious offers on the table.
Ritu, many thanks for joining us. The government is likely to go slow on selling minority stakes in public sector undertakings. Sapna Das is standing by with more details. Sapna, what are you hearing?
Well, we have been clearly given to understand that probably government will like to go slow as far as its offer for sales program is concerned in terms of the minority stake sales in CPSEs. We are given to understand that probably a month or 2 months deferment is on the cards or has already been worked out, given the state of the markets, the market volatility. So this is a time period that probably the government would like to play safe and avoid, bringing out OFSs, no matter even if they are small in size, like 2% or 3% it's something that the government will like to strike a cautious note on that. So that's one. Second, of course, this entire financial year, the focus has been on CPSE dividends. It was the case last year also, but more or less, of rather heightened interest in the current financial year. So given to understand that by March 31, around 1.40 lakh crore worth of dividends by CPSEs is likely to be given to all the investors across the board. Of course, the government share as of now from the CPSE dividend stands around close to 70,000 crores. So that's a healthy number that we're looking at. So any kind of a divestment shortfall, of course, will be made up through this. But as far as the OFS program is concerned of the government, most likely April, May, next financial year, we'll have some clarity. But a month or 2 months deferment probably has already been worked out.
Sapna, many thanks. Now, demand for consumer spending has been muted in the fourth quarter. Retailers Association says that whether it's electronics or apparel, they've seen very low growth. In fact, Electronic Mart of India has said pretty much the same thing. Let's listen in.
See, after witnessing a little bit of disappointing third quarter, so this fourth quarter is quite promising, and we did see decent demand for the consumer durables in the fourth quarter of this year. See, for the next year, at the company level, we are expecting mid-single digit SSG.
Well, I think overall, when I take into account all the categories, what we have seen is a very subdued growth in Q4. Some categories, obviously, like food and grocery, has remained steady, mid-single digits in terms of growth. The apparel industry is close to zero in terms of growth.
Well, concerns there over consumer demand. Rekha Gupta, Delhi's Chief Minister, presents her maiden budget with an outlay of 1 lakh crore rupees. That and more coming up on Business 360. Delhi's Chief Minister Rekha Gupta has presented the Delhi budget with an outlay of 1 lakh crore rupees, 5,100 crores, of course, 50. The state government has allotted 5,100 crore rupees for a monthly cash allowance to women and 50,000 CCTV cameras across Delhi for women's safety. Timsy Jaipuria standing by with the details.
Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta, who also holds the finance portfolio, proposed an outlay of 1 lakh crore rupees, which is a 31% higher allocation compared to Aam Aadmi Party government's full-term budget, which was presented in March last year. Now, here's a quick look at the top 10 highlights of the Delhi's budget. The government has allocated 2,144 crore rupees under the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. The scheme provides a 5 lakh rupee top-up from the Delhi government in addition to the centre's 5 lakh rupee health insurance coverage. 5,100 crore rupees has been allocated for the Mahila Samriddhi scheme, which would provide a monthly allowance of 2,500 rupees to eligible women. The budget has also set aside 300 crore rupees for measures towards curbing air pollution, but there is no concrete plan or details in the budget. The Delhi government has also allocated 6,897 crore rupees for MCD. Chief Minister Rekha Gupta said that the majority of these funds will be used towards redeveloping roads and sewage system across the capital. Over 3,800 crore rupees has been allocated for flyovers and infrastructure. Chief Minister Rekha Gupta has also announced a common free bus pass to commute across the national capital for women. The pink passes, which were introduced by the erstwhile Aam Aadmi Party government, will now be discontinued. When it comes to Yamuna cleaning, the BJP government has allocated 500 crore rupees, proposing that only treated water enters the river Yamuna through the decentralization of 40 sewage treatment plants. An additional 500 crore rupees has also been earmarked for the repair and upgradation of the sewage treatment plants. Apart from this, the government has allocated 9,000 crore rupees for schemes related to clean drinking water and sanitation. The Chief Minister has also allocated 750 crore rupees for providing free laptops to select group of students who pass the 10th standard exams. The initial beneficiary list may cover around 1,200 students. So that's all to encapsulate the top highlights.
Timsy, many thanks for joining us. Artificial intelligence and quantum computing are the buzzwords driving conversations and global innovation today. But India has a long distance to go when it comes to research. Shivani Bazaz tells you why.
AI is already reshaping our polity, our economy, our security, and even our society. AI is writing the code for humanity.
India has big ambitions for its role in the global artificial intelligence race and in building applications to accelerate the use cases for AI. When it comes to AI research, the numbers tell the story. Budget 2025-26 allocated 500 crore rupees for the Center of Excellence in AI for Education, aiming to enhance skills, personalize learning, and transform the educational landscape. Additionally, the government proposed a deep tech fund of funds of 20,000 crore rupees, approximately $2.3 billion, to spearhead the next generation of startups and translate ideas into tangible outcomes. But there is still a gaping gap in this area. Data shows that as of 2022, China accounted for 61.3% of all AI patents awarded globally. USA accounted for 20.9% and India a mere 0.23%. Ashoka University is looking to address this gap in AI research.
Ashoka is that students come in the first year not committing to any particular subject. They learn a very large range of subjects in the first year, which go from literature, history, economics, psychology, and the sciences, and then commit to an education in computer science and data sciences. The school will ensure that the students, after having learnt the general context of the various different areas in which computer science and data sciences can be applied, then learn the basics of the subject to find out how AI and related data, related activities can be applied to all these diverse areas.
Its new School of Advanced Computing aims to fill a crucial gap in India's AI research by integrating computing with social sciences, healthcare, and ethics. Over the next 5 years, Ashoka University plans to raise 250 crore rupees to support the expansion of the school, pioneering research and attracting top-tier faculty, students and researchers from across the world. Experts say that while such initiatives are needed, there is a greater need for sustained and substantial funding to help India compete on a global stage.
I think we certainly need financial resources. You mentioned the 250 crore number, but it's really a drop in the ocean. Yeah. You can't do much with that kind of money, with the kind of work that is going on around the world. Yeah. Individual companies, small companies are spending a lot more money. I think the challenge for us is really as a country, even as a university and as entities in India, is how do you do more with less? How do you pick your battles? Where do we focus on so that even with our meager resources we can have disproportionate impact? And I think that's true for Ashoka. I think that's true for our country. The other challenge is that if we don't do it, we'll be saddled with solutions that come from other parts of the world. So our diseases are going to be diagnosed by AI that has learned on the Western patients. And so it will by definition be flawed.
They say that the road ahead requires stronger public-private partnerships and a sharper focus on India-specific AI applications, from local language processing to healthcare models tailored for Indian conditions. India's efforts in building AI infrastructure, AI chip procurement and computing capacity will not be enough unless it works on bolstering three crucial elements: large volumes of proprietary data, homegrown and properly upskilled talent, and R&D across the facets of the AI stack. In New Delhi, Shivani Bajaj.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV 18. Stay tuned.